it was the under tray, it was the diffuser that was the issue. No, the diffuser was covering
It was
the
in
issue.
the way of the issue. Yeah, you can see those guys, flashlights in there. They're peeling parts off that car trying to get to the issue, and yeah, out of the car now. So that's not a great sign.
So let me ask you this question, and Brian, you can answer as well.
See tomorrow,
Some
man.
of this you can reverse. We know what parts come out and come off. Some of this you never get to until it actually happens in the race, right?
Yeah, I mean,
That'd
you
be
probably
nice,
didn't
wouldn't it?
rehearse this in the shop, but you've put the car together and taken it apart enough times that you know where the bits and pieces are. You know,
and they're not,
typically
what always the
tools you
Rams.
need. Okay, hey, we need
Well,
to
the
do this.
49ers
Right? Well,
always,
then
they
you gather
got
that
they
box
make
of
it
tools
a lot, too.
and off you go. But
The hardest part is the diagnosis. If you don't know what you're chasing yet, they might suspect
Oh,
the
you're
problem,
not a Dallas
but
fan
not
like
actually
your
know
brother.
what they're going after. So they're
Yeah.
gonna have a hit
I'm
list.
glad to
If this
hear
is
that.
if these are the symptoms, here are the
I like
possible
Justin
issues,
Herbert.
and they'll
He's
start
really
clicking
good.
those off one at a time, replacing or repairing whatever they need to until the car fires back up and can get back out there.
doctors with wrenches. I mean,
Yes, they are.
really what they are.
Right.
Absolutely. So the GT cars are all have an opportunity to pit now. The prototype cars have already been in, those that wanted to pit during this full course caution.
And one important thing to note while talking about the DPIs is that every one of them did come in, so the 10 crucially did get one of their laps back, and there's still one to go. But that is a big benefit for those guys.
Take a look all up and down pit road as we've seen. There's a driver change in the Wright Motorsports Porsche happening at this point. Certain parts have a lot of spacing in between, others stacked up upon each other in these very tight pit
hard to
stalls.
drive.
And
I hate
this
it.
is huge for the 9 because remember they had stopped a long time ago and were about to have to stop. So this yellow is perfect for them. They pitted, came into the pit lane in the lead of this race, and now they'll be back on the same strategy as everyone behind them. They were about to have to pit, and they would have lost the lead at that point in time. So the other thing, I got a text from Brian Sellers, former winner of the Rolex 24, a WeatherTech champion, knows this race well, and he said when he was watching the 2 and the 62, he thinks the 2 is really saving a lot of fuel with the big long lift, and if you've got that top speed, you can kind of do that, right, Inch? I mean, you get to the bus stop, big long lift, save a little fuel, and
It would also create the illusion of the Ferrari having a more powerful braking ability, right? Because we talked about how to save fuel. It's lifting off, coasting for a bit, and then braking a bit later. But if you look at that visually compared to a car that's flat on the throttle until a big brake application, that moment of lift for the Porsche is going to certainly make it look like the Ferrari's braking a lot harder and deeper and later. But yeah, maybe it is. Maybe they're just sort of toying with them right now.
yeah, he was saying they went 2 laps longer on fuel. I didn't have that calculation. I hadn't been looking at it, and that's the way you do it.
Brian Sellers, champion, gathering data as he can. The engineers are the only ones who know for sure on the 2, but good science on his part.
I'll listen to Brian Sellers.
Yes, I will too.
Not only is he a friend of mine, but he's got some pretty good experience, right?
Oh, do we call that or not?
Leaving pit road, look at the right of pit lane there.
I kept going. I didn't know if he wanted to call it.
Oh, just a slightest bit of contact.
Quit my car.
And almost another little bit of contact.
Well, so it'll be interesting to see how this gets reorganized. The rule in IMSA racing is once you leave your pit box, if there's a car in the fast lane, which those were not, they were coming out of their pit box, but the car in the fast lane has the right of way. So if there's any overlap at all, if you're coming out and your tail lights or even with the headlights of the car in the fast lane, you got to slow down and go behind him. You don't get to go in front of him because any overlap at all, the car in the fast lane has the right of way. So it'll be interesting to see if that gets rearranged.
The fast lane gets priority. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any penalties for the contact, if there's any argument for unsafe release there. Probably not. I would hope not.
Yeah, I think they pretty much released at the same time, and then it was just kind of off you go. But
1 or 2 wave arounds here, guys, as we get ready to go back to green.
Absolutely. The 36 car that was stopped, as you noted, Brian, apparently with no power, is in fact being pulled behind the garage. Looking at the battery and the alternator right now, so an electrical issue on the 36. Very unfortunate for those guys. Very promising start to the day, but it looks like it's all gone a bit pear-shaped for them.
there are times when H-pattern gearboxes and carburetors and distributors were better than ECUs and everything else that's controlled by electrics. I mean, think about it. We saw on the Windward Mercedes, replacing the steering wheel allowed the car to shift.
Yep.
Because of the contacts on the paddles on the back of the wheel. That's just how technologically advanced these cars and how electrical they are. Any little gremlin over here can affect something else down the line.
There are miles of wires inside one of these race cars.
And pounds of wire.
Oh yeah,
like 30 pounds.
It is an awful lot. And they are such an intricate part of the chassis design, of the engine design, that the worst thing that can go wrong, the worst thing to have to change for mechanics is a wiring loom, because they are so. Think of it as like the vein system in a body. You know, there's all these, there's main arteries, and there's all these little veins that come off to different parts of the cars, different sensors that control different things. It is such a complicated thing to repair.
He's the mayor and a doctor.
Well, we established that.
We established that you were the only resident of Hingetown.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, town of one.
So
no taxes though. Great place.
Great place. And you know a good doctor.
I know. Now we know a good doctor. We see the 10 car now into the pits. Happy to have one of their laps back.
Yep. See, they're 7th in class. There are 7 cars running in that class.
You just keep doing that, right? You just keep doing what you were doing until you're back on that lead lap and then you're back in the fight. But you talk about the wires and everything. So intricate in how they go together. Any zip tie that holds a wire on has to be just right. Otherwise, if it moves, if it chafes a little bit,
it's too tight, it pinches, you can crimp the wire. There's all sorts of little tiny things, and that kind of goes back to what we're seeing with the Corvette. It could be something that, never mind they haven't practiced before, it could be something they've never even seen before.
Remember, this car has raced for a year in GTLM training.
Can I keep going?
But this is a new deal. A lot of things have changed. And so there's a lot of education. You talk about tight pit stalls.
How do you get around that?
You need those
the little dollies they had earlier.
Exactly right. I think Townsend calls them the Le Mans jack.
Yeah. Very nice. Or you could have that car leave, which is even better.
That's easier.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
And again, it's about people. Your crew guy. Now, typically you won't see a prototype in a GT car in pit lane together during a full course caution. You can certainly see him that way under green as he's tightening his belts down and they head out of pit lane. Belts have to be done up. They have to be on your Hans device. They don't have to be tight.
This is one of the hardest parts of a driver change. Getting the buckles on, getting in the car, that's relatively easy, but getting those belts tight, it depends on the driver. Some drivers like their belts really tight. I liked the biggest guy on my crew to wrench mine down. Alex Rossi, he could drive without them. He basically has them off, they're so loose. I don't know how he does it. But when you're driving down, you're trying to do this yourself, and where you are in pit lane has a huge effect. If you're right down by pit out, you have almost no time to wrench on those belts. You're doing it on the straightaway between turn 3 and the kink. You're doing it on the banking, trying to get those lap belts and shoulder belts where you want them.
Look at the car control with the cold tires, and now trying to get some heat in them.
And again, you can see it, big turns of the wheel, and the front tires just not doing anything. 36 behind the wall, but I do see power now because
the light board's on the side. Yeah, so obviously some sort of, like we said, battery issue, potentially alternator problem. Is under his own power now.
Yeah.
And turn back around, get back on the track.
It's another one of those electrical things, though. It's like,
the gremlins.
Why? Where is it?
The gremlins, they just come out. Don't feed them.
Don't feed them.
By the way,
out past midnight.
the driver working those belts in the BMW, that's Augusto Farfus, former winner here in a BMW. And he took over for Jesse Krohn in the running Team RLL BMW. They've had some trouble with the other car this weekend. Appreciate Bobby Rahal, by the way, joining us earlier on the Peacock Pit Box, getting his perspective on this awesome event.
Guys, I can't wait to see Letarte in the Ferris wheel. He said 10 o'clock for the fireworks. He said he was going to do it. So I don't know, Steve, if you're listening, don't let us down, man. I've just called you out. That it's been out there. So we got some bumper cars. Maybe we can get him and Burton in there.
I was going to say we need to get
have a fun little segment.
They're either practicing restarts or pit exit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, but that's the great thing about this event, and I can't remember seeing crowds this big in a while. Obviously, we had COVID that interrupted things, and I think the combination of beautiful weather, although it's cold, beautiful weather today and tomorrow, and the fact that it's 61 cars, I mean, it is packed. And if you're watching on TV and you haven't seen this event before, you go, well, there's no one there. There's no one in the stands. You don't sit in the stands.
Nobody
at the
wants
Rolex
to be
24.
in the stands.
No.
Now the grid before the start. I mean,
my gosh.
Jeff Burton talked about it. The Daytona 500 is a big deal. The Indy 500 is a big deal. I've never seen so many people on the grid of a race as we did this morning. So it's incredible to see the fans come out. Tons of motorhomes, people camping out as you came in the racetrack this morning. Well, just great to see.
And even the
Got to throw some fuel on the fire, quite literally right here.
The camping area outside the turn 3 and 4 on the banking, outside NASCAR 3 and 4, across the street from the racetrack, is full of motorhomes and trailers. I mean, it's overflowing. It's awesome.
These fans don't know about the electric starters for your charcoal. They're apparently still doing it the old-fashioned way.
It's just not as much fun.
Exactly.
Who needs eyebrows? You know, I mean, really, who needs eyebrows? They'll grow back.
I have a feeling maybe Elio set a fire earlier, and that's why he was hiding what was left of his eyebrows.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Elio
Like
Castro
what you're
Neves
thinking.
also on our Peacock Pit Box.
One of them looked just like Uncle Bobby.
Glad to have the rotating folks
And
through
one of
there,
them
and we will
looked just
throughout
like
the
WBR.
24 hours.
That's right.
We're going to give a little time to sleep the box overnight here, but tomorrow it'll be active once again, and so glad to have it as a part of what we do.
And there's our coverage on the side of a motorhome down there as well, I believe.
Do I sense a new voice on the broadcast now? Kevin Lee, have you joined us?
I have, and it's gotten significantly colder since I left you a little while ago, but we're game, and I'm looking forward to the overnight hours. Always one of my favorite times. Unfortunately, it's not a favorite time for the Corvette camp. Marco Sorensen was in, mechanical issues. Any idea what's going on?
We think it's from we had a hit from the back in one of the restarts, and we think that's gone in and done something to the starter. So when we came in, it already died on the banking, the car, when we were coming around, and when Nick then jumped in the car to start the car, nothing worked. Like, know what the actual issue is. But of course, I'm